This is Alexis Perakis-Valat, CEO of L'Oréal China. The L'Oréal Group is the world's largest cosmetics and beauty company, and it entered the China market in 1997 and now has a total of 20 brands and 3,000 employees. With L'Oréal's pyramid strategy, its various brands cater to different customers and consumer needs. Alexis is of Greek origin, but was raised in France. 19 years ago, he joined L'Oréal's international marketing team in Paris. And in 2010, he was appointed as the CEO of L'Oréal China. Alexis, thanks so much for joining our show today. I'm looking forward to hearing about L'Oréal and your presence in China. After all, you're the largest cosmetics company in the world, and you're now in the largest market. What is that like?
Thanks for inviting me, Steve.
Yeah.
It's great. It feels absolutely great to be in China, and L'Oréal China has had a great beginning of the history, but it's only the beginning, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I understand you came in 2010. Before you came to China, how much did you know about this country and the market?
Virtually nothing. I just had come once in 2006 for a retail congress. I spent 5 days in Shanghai. And I remember I was looking at the bund. I was saying to myself, you know, I really want to come back one day here, and here I am.
Tell me about your locations. You're in Beijing, you're in Shanghai, and you have retail outlets in other cities, but where are your major centers for running the company?
We run the company out of Shanghai. Mm-hmm. In Shanghai, we have the R&D center, we have a head office, and we've also just opened 4 months ago the L'Oréal Academy, which is a new building, all dedicated to training our people.
How many come through each process, each training course? I'm sure each product has a different cycle of training. So was that 1 month, 6 month process?
No, but you're right. First, there are very different types of people that are going to come here. We're going to have beauty advisors, skin advisors. These are the women mostly that are every day counseling our consumers on counters all around China, and we expect more than 10,000 of them to come every year to get trained in our center.
10,000 per year.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you're going to have also hairdressers, our hairdresser partners, and we're going to train more than 15,000 hairdressers to use our products, to give the proper advice to their consumers.
Are those all Shanghai or from other cities as well?
It's Shanghai, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and sometimes we also do national meetings here.
Okay. So where do the others receive their training? Do you go to other smaller cities to conduct training?
Yes, we have. First, we have distributors all around China, and sometimes we do trainings at our distributor facilities or in hotels or in salons. But we're also going to train our managers here, and our sales managers, our marketing managers, to help them develop their talent. And we expect more than 2,000 managers to be trained every year. So it's really, one of our objectives is to prepare the Chinese leaders of tomorrow, and this is the place where we're going to do that.
Yeah. But what I find very challenging about the China market is that it changes so fast. For example, 50 years ago, there weren't too many choices when it came to cosmetics or soap or beauty supplies. Now you go to the supermarket, you go to the shopping mall, there's unlimited, I would say hundreds of different brands and choices to choose from. So I think for multinational companies coming to China, they have a challenge of keeping the pace of the market and keeping the pace of the consumer's desires and needs. How have you seen larger cities versus the second and third tier cities? How do you see the market different in those places?
You're very right. If there's one thing about China is that makes it so different from everywhere else I've worked in is the speed. Yeah. And at lots of levels. Speed in the change of generations, and we can talk about that later, because this is one of the things that is for me the most striking in China, is the difference between the post-70s, the post-80s, the post-90s, the way they think. And the other thing where you're right is this emergence of this middle class everywhere, and especially the speed of what's happening in tier 3, 4, and 5 cities. Actually, when I arrived, the only thing I did in the first 2 months is just visit cities, and I visited almost 25 cities.
Where did you go? 25 cities?
Almost 25, but since then, I know that you visited 100, so I haven't visited 100 then, but yeah. I must not be very far, but I remember I went to Anshan, I went to Liaoyang, I went to Zhejiao in Shandong province.
Yeah.
And it was really a great learning for me.
How long would you stay at each city, and where would you go?
I would stay maybe a couple of days in each city, and what I typically would do is spend some time in stores, in different kinds of stores, in department stores, in supermarkets, etc. And what we do also is we go into the homes of the people.
Wow, so you actually went to the homes of consumers and...
Yeah, we look into their bathrooms,
really?
because that's where you really feel you know, how people live, how they use their cosmetic, you know, what kind of water. That's the most enlightening experience, and that's worth all the tests you can do.
Exactly, and not too many of our CEOs on the show actually go into the homes of the consumers and see their shopping habits and buying habits. What did you find when you went into people's homes? What were some discoveries that you were pleased to find for the market?
No, but the first thing is that you find when, which is very obvious, but in winter, for example, in most of the homes, they have no heating, so it's quite cold. So using a hydrating cream is a necessity.
Or in the north where they have the radiator heat, exactly, the skin's dry. In the south, it's so humid. So I guess one thing you learned is going to each region is that there might be a different need for different products throughout China.
Absolutely. But what is great is the potential of these cities, because we've looked at how much a woman in a tier 1 city spends on skincare per year versus the same woman in a tier 3 or in a tier 4 or 5 cities. And the difference is amazing.
What do you mean?
On average, in a tier 1 city, if a woman spends 100, the same average woman in a tier 3 city spends 50.
Okay.
And the same in a tier 4 or 5 spends 33, so spends less than 3 times less.
Now, has that changed over time? Because I'm learning now from our other guests that the smaller tier cities actually are having higher prices and people in smaller tier cities willing to pay more.
Absolutely. What is changing is that the growth from lower tier cities is going to be astronomical. Wow. And this new middle class emerging there is going to really fuel the market growth. So we have to really understand these consumers, understand their needs and their habits and their desires.
Okay, let me ask you a marketing question for those second and third tier cities. How do you target your target customers? Or first, I should ask, who are your target customers in the second and third tier cities? And then how do you reach them?
It's really very different because we have different kind of brands in different kind of divisions. So we've got brands like L'Oréal Paris or Maybelline, which are more broad, but we also have brands like Lancôme or Biotherm, and we have brands like Vichy, so it depends by brand. But for example, one of the things that we've done over the past 3 years is for a brand like Lancôme. Lancôme has always planted the flag of luxury in new cities. It was, in many new cities, the first luxury brand that was there was Lancôme. And we've kind of accelerated the pace. And we've opened 15 new cities with a Lancôme counter in 2011 and 18 last year. And every time, you know, I remember the opening of the Yichang, of the Lancôme counter in Yichang. And, you know, it's fantastic, you know, because for these people in Yichang, for the first time, they see a fantastic luxury beauty brand coming to their city. It's a great moment of pride.
But how do they know it's a luxury brand? When it comes to branding, you know, you're opening in a small town, they haven't seen a lot of the outside brands. What do you do to brand? Do you do things to prepare? Do you do grand events or ribbon cuttings?
Of course we do things to prepare, but what is interesting in the world of today is how much knowledge is spread through the internet.
Okay.
Lancôme is a very well-known brand, but if you take another brand like Kiehl's, you know, you could think, you know, you open Kiehl's in Ningbo, who knows Kiehl's? Yeah. With zero media investment, Kiehl's in Ningbo was the first brand on the department store floor the day of the opening.
From the internet, or? I
think it's from the internet, and the world is becoming more and more globalized through the internet.
Wow. Now let's go back to the major cities. Okay, I understand your strategy with the second and third tier cities. What are you doing in the major cities, or what have you done that has changed over this fast-growing market, the period of the past 5 and 6 years?
Where you're right is that it's true that a lot of growth is going to come from third and fourth tier cities, but there's still a lot of things in major cities. And actually these major cities are becoming more and more like cities like Seoul or Tokyo. So here it's more about sharpening the experience, enlarging our breadth of brands, launching new brands, for example. This is more what's going to fuel growth in new cities. And of course, innovation. And this is true for the first-tier city, second-tier, third-tier. Innovation is the absolute key in our business.
What do you mean by innovation? Is this something where you're bringing new products to the market, or is that in terms of cosmetics or creams? Does this happen in the lab, or does this happen? I don't really understand behind this industry. Tell me more about that.
There are lots of ways to innovate, but if I try to simplify, there are three big ways we can innovate in China. The first thing is to really bring game-changing innovation from the outside of China to China. Another way is to, and what we're doing more and more, is to invent in China for China.
Okay.
And there, the example is maybe what we're doing on USI, for example.
Yes, I understand you acquired that brand in 2004. In 2004, L'Oreal acquired China's USI Cosmetics from Coty, adding more than 800 outlets and a Shanghai factory to meet the rising demands for the world's most populous nation. That was L'Oreal's second China purchase after the acquisition of skincare products maker Mini Nurse in the same year. Tell me about that brand. How has she used technology or an understanding of Chinese medicine in her brand?
Yeah, as you said, we bought the brand in 2004, and what helped a lot is also we've created our R&D center here in Pudong in 2005. Okay. And then the marketing teams of USI started working with the labs to invent and create new products. And that's how we came with this new brand platform, which was taking the best of Chinese medicine and applying it to skin.
What do you mean? Give me an example of this.
You know all these traditional Chinese ingredients?
Yes, like tea?
Like cordyceps, like Ganoderma, like silver ear. Yeah. We've screened thousands of them to identify which ones are ones that really work on the skin.
How do you do that? I mean, I'm imagining a factory with 1,000 different, mushrooms. I mean, what do you do? China has thousands
we're doing that. We're doing that actually on the ground here in China, in Pudong. Either we do tests on real skin, and we have another thing very interesting is we can actually grow artificial skin.
Okay.
Here in China. There are two places in the world where we can grow artificial skin. It's for us. It's in France, and it's in China.
Wow.
And this allows you to test a lot of ingredients very much in advance, and that's how we can screen actually ingredients and select the ones that really work on skin.
Actually, the reconstructed skin, to put it simple, you see we have, our skin have epidermis and a dermis. So if I take the major cells, like keratinocytes from our epidermis, and I can grow it in a cell culture medium, and these cells will proliferate and then differentiate in a vertical way. And actually this mimics the natural process of the differentiation and the formation of our normal skin. So at the end of the process, we will have a functional epidermis, which can mimic the major physiological function of our normal skin.
I understand that you're trying to target 1 billion consumers in the future. This is one of your sales goals. That's going to be made up of a lot of different demographics, I would imagine, with 20 different product lines. Tell me about that. How do you use different product lines to reach the different markets here in China?
Actually, it's more than a sales goal. It's a company ambition that our president and CEO set, and which is a very motivating ambition, because today we estimate that around the world, around 1 billion people have used one of our products. And the idea is in the next decade to double this number. So it's more an ambition than a sales goal, but it's an achievable ambition.
How is it achievable? That's what the audience wants to know. How do you measure that? I mean, it's a great goal, but I don't think you can just look at product SKUs by sale alone. I mean, how are you going to target 1 billion consumers?
But take China, for example. We estimate that more or less maybe 1/3 of this 1 billion will come to China.
Okay.
In China, there are lots of ways to recruit consumers.
Reach that. Yeah.
First, the dynamics of China, because you're going to have more and more people that are going to go into the middle class and that will afford to buy one of our products. So that's one thing. Then, as we discussed, in tier 3, 4, 5 cities, there are lots of consumers that know our brand, but maybe don't have access to it or haven't tried. So this expansion in tier 3, 4, 5 cities is also a way. Then there are lots of product categories that are just very much underdeveloped. Take makeup, for example. If you walk in the streets in China, you see many women wearing quite nice clothes, etc., but using very little makeup.
Yes.
That's also a tremendous opportunity, and we see it as our mission to develop markets like makeup.
从中国的传统文化来说，中国人相信自然就是美，所以中国消费者最喜欢的就是自然的妆效，比如说天生的美白啊，或者由白里透红啊，由内到外的这种 beauty 的感觉，中国消费者不喜欢这种非常fake artificial， 或者说是很过分的这种妆效。
Let's transition to men's products, because I know in the West, especially in America, there are a lot of brands that are putting pheromones in their product, and they say you're going to actually be more attractive if you use our product. Do you do that as well for your men's products?
As I told you, we're very attached to sincerity. So I don't know much about pheromones and about the efficiency of pheromones. We don't use pheromones as far as I know. However, where you're right is that the men market in China is exploding. To be very honest, we didn't plan it.
Yeah, and
it was a divine
in the
surprise.
World, isn't it? It's the largest in the world, I understand.
It's actually, we do, for a brand like L'Oreal Men Expert, we do half of our worldwide business on men in China.
And tell me about online sales. A lot of our guests here on this show are seeing that the internet is playing a major role in boosting sales, and I understand from your website that some of your product lines are sold online. Is that increasing sales?
Absolutely, it's increasing sales, and we've tried to be really pioneer in that field. We launched 3 years ago a site called Luxury Beauty, which was putting together all our luxury brands online. And last year we did another initiative on top of our brand websites, on top of all. We did another initiative in that field, which is called eSkin. It's a site dedicated to people with sensitive skin, where you can get advice, diagnosis, and also buy products with brands like Vichy or like La Roche-Posay. So we're very active in terms of selling, but also in terms of we view the internet as a great way to interact with our consumer in a brand new way, because you know, the 30 seconds ad is limitative in our business, and internet is a great way to go beyond that.
Let's talk about the internet. Do you use viral media, or do you use social media to attract customers and to educate them?
Of course, we think that it's definitely the future. One good example is maybe what we're doing on Maybelline, because as I told you, people don't use makeup, so we've launched a campaign called No Makeup, No Fashion, which is to say, you know, ladies, girls, if you're interested in fashion, you should be interested in makeup and all that. And it's more than saying, I have a great product. Is saying, for example, we changed the way, instead of doing advertising on products, we're saying, okay, we're going to do looks based on occasions. So we have the dating look, the going to the office look, the first interview look. And we have these mini videos, these mini how-tos on the internet, where you can get in 3 steps, 3 very simple steps, the look that you want. And we're doing a lot of events on that. For example, we had the stylist of Gossip Girl coming to China and inventing with our makeup artists things that are the makeup looks that go with the clothes look. So this link with fashion is very viral because Chinese women love fashion, and it's a great way to create virality.
Who are you finding that this is targeting? Is that the post-80s generation?
Post-80s, post-90s, now everybody talks about post-95. So, and it's true that I think this is key in China, is this difference in generation.
20 different brands in the L'Oreal company. I can imagine managing all of those different brands. It must be a challenge, kind of like managing a large family. Are there internal feuds, or is there competition between some of the brands?
You know, the great thing about China is that, yes, we're already big, but we only have 14% market share in China. So there's still so many potential to grow, and there's room to grow for everyone. On top of it, our brands are really segmented by type of channels, by price tier, and also by image. So, and we attach a lot of importance at defining the territory, the price level.
The positioning
of each brand. So actually we pull together what we can pull together, and there are lots of projects where all the brands work together. For example, understanding better the post-80s, post-90s generation, that's the kind of cross-brand project. Developing e-commerce, that's the kind of cross-brand project. But when it comes to sales, to marketing, every brand goes on its own with its own strength, and it's actually the recipe for success, because every brand is a bit like a tribe.
On February 28, 2013, L'Oreal China disclosed that its sales totaled 12.05 billion yuan in 2012, an increase of 12.4% over a year ago. The figures made last year the 12th consecutive year of double-digit growth for L'Oreal in the world's most populous nation. What can the other markets around the world learn from the Chinese market?
A lot of things. They can learn a lot of things, but for example, they can learn about product innovation, like the BB example I quoted. They can also learn about how to leverage scale, because what is very interesting in China is the scale. You know, today in China, we give job opportunities to more than 30,000 people. We have counters in more than 300 cities. So when it comes to how you manage a counter and how you scale that, there are lots of things that can be learned from China.
Let's talk about the economy in China. A lot of people are saying that we're about to enter a cold season, a winter of retail. Do you see that happening?
Listen, the beauty business is a fantastic business because it has been proven to be quite recession-proof. And you know, there was something called the lipstick effect, which is to say that in hard times, as well as in good times, you know, if a woman wants to buy a lipstick, she's going to buy it. And actually maybe more in hard times, because buying a lipstick in a hard time is a great way to indulge a bit without spending too much money.
So you don't look to the future with fear?
We look to the future with a lot of optimism and ambition.
What is your corporate culture like?
Our corporate culture, you know, first there's one thing we don't want to have is stereotypes. We're afraid of stereotypes. So we don't want to have a company of clones. We are very much attached to diversity. We really cultivate this entrepreneur spirit, you know, if you have an idea, okay, go for it. Let's try. That's really part of our DNA.
Let's talk about something we haven't mentioned yet, and that is a commitment to charity. How is L'Oreal committed to helping those less fortunate?
We're very committed to that, and we're very committed to, you know, we're a beauty company, so if we can help and give a small contribution to making the world more beautiful, we're really committed to that.
How do you do that?
One of our big programs is the charity sales programs, where we go, it's an interesting program because we give products to students that sell them, and then the profit generated by these sales, we give scholarships to students that don't have the money to pay their education.
To their tuition fees.
So that's a great program because it's about helping and giving back, but it's also giving the opportunity to students to actually start learn about selling products.
And who do they sell them to? Where do they go?
To their fellow students.
Okay.
To their fellow students, and it's a very, very interesting project that we started 10 years ago. Actually, it was the anniversary of the 10 years of charity sales this year, and it's a really very interesting program where we've raised more than 10 million RMB for these students without enough means to pay their education.
What about the personal skills to develop? I know a lot of people wonder, they want to be a CEO, they want to be a leader, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know the path. What would you tell them to start now in their 20s or 30s to get to where you are?
The great thing about L'Oreal is that because we have so many brands in so many countries, there are lots of leadership positions for people that want to be at the driver's seat. And that's one of the great assets of our company, because we're really organized by brand, and each brand is kind of a small business unit. So, for example, myself, when I was 27, I was sent to Belgium as the general manager of Garnier Maybelline in Belgium.
Wow. Go back to that time. Think about that time. What were the challenges that you faced when you were stepping into such a leadership role?
Two types of challenge, because you've got everything at the same time. You've got the hard skill challenge and you've got the soft skill challenge. So first you've got to learn lots of hard skills that you haven't learned. And second, you've got to be the boss. So that's the thing. And I think what really helped me is I had the chance to step in with a great team in place. And I have learned as much from them that they have learned from me. And then, of course, when I took this kind of position, but in a bigger country, in maybe a more difficult situation, I had done it already in a smaller scale. So there I had I had the skill set to
help.
I
see. So it sounds like what you're saying is if someone wants to follow in that career path, some things they might need are the hard skills, understanding of the industry, maybe a degree that would prepare them for this job, as well as maybe language skills, I would imagine, too, something you're looking for in your employees?
Of course, language skills help. It's true that also if you want to work in the beauty industry, it's good to have a certain sensitivity to the métier. You don't have to, when I joined L'Oréal, I was more interested in rugby than in lipsticks.
Yeah.
But
you learned it quickly, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you have to have a certain amount of interest for beauty. But if you have that, if you have the guts, and if you're ready to take some risks, it's a fantastic opportunity, and it's a fantastic career. And it's true that this because we can tailor positions and we can give small leadership positions, you can grow step by step. You can be in charge of a small area, then a bigger area, and then grow step by step.
I understand you're a very multicultural person. Coming from Europe, spending time in America. Now you're living in China for a few years. Have you adapted to Chinese culture?
I don't know if I have adapted, but I can tell I love it, and I'm very interested in it, and very deeply interested in it. I'm trying, with not a lot of success yet, but I'm trying hard.
You're trying with a language?
To learn Chinese, of course. And I'm very interested in China's history, in the dynasties.
And you've had an opportunity to travel to many of the places. Do you ever get a chance to travel just on your own, time away from work?
Of course. More or less every time we have an occasion, we travel to China. We've been to Dunhuang, we've been to Datong, we've been to many places, very interesting. We've done Yunnan, of course Beijing. We've visited everything in Beijing because we're very interested as a family in China, very interested by the history of China. And I have to say I'm also quite fascinated by this youth culture that is emerging, by this post-95, by the Weibo, by the Weixin.
Oh, it's really driving social scenes. In fact, a lot of our audience members are my WeChat friends.
Yeah, really.
It's really changing our lives. Tell me about that. Have you joined WeChat? Have you take pictures of your food or the parties? I mean, is this part of your life?
I follow WeChat very, very closely. One of the reasons why I'm learning Chinese is because I want to make sure that one day I'm going to be able to read what's happening